Welcome back, Issues of Sal.
I'm Ethan.
I'm Ben.
So a while back, we did the first half of the Jason Aaron Punisher run with art by Jesus Saiz and Paul Azaceta. This run, I was so hyped. It was coming out as we were shooting it, and the collection we had didn't have everything. It was just like I was just like, well, we're just gonna do up until the last issue. Because I just love this run, and it's so cool and awesome.
And we'll get to it eventually.
And we will, and here we are. We're finally here. And so I have both volumes, which you can get in the comments down below. I believe I have the first volume in the first episode, so I'll put the second volume in the second episode. So here it is.
Yeah, part deuce.
Part deuce of Punisher. So Jason Aaron, of course, writer of Punisher. He also wrote Punisher Max after Ennis, and has very strong opinions about Punisher, as evidenced by the way in which he portrays the Punisher in his books. This is a radical interpretation of Frank, although I would argue not, because Frank is just demonstrably Frank in this book. Like, that's what he is. He is immovable. He is intransigent. He just does what he does. He's just along for the ride. The whole thing about this is that it is about Frank's family, because
he got his wife back.
He got his wife back, yes. The Hand has a leader in the form of a brand new character that Aaron invents for the story, in the form of an old lady who is like the high priestess of the Hand, who worships the Beast, who is like the god of the Hand, who's a demon. Zdarsky is also writing Daredevil at this time, and it is very important to understand that like there's a lot of stuff wrapped up in that, and Aaron couldn't be bothered. It just doesn't come up at all.
That's your book. It's not my book.
That's exactly right. Now, there was some discussion. I remember talking to Chip about it, and Chip was like, I worked with Aaron. Like, we did a thing where, like, Daredevil shows up in the Punisher book for one issue, and in turn, Punisher shows up in the Daredevil book in their current forms, although not really, because in Punisher, Daredevil's wearing his classic costume as opposed to his Marco Cicchetto designed costume from the Zdarsky run. So it's like, there's just no. Like, this Punisher run is not meant to be read as part of like the ongoing saga of the Marvel Universe. Or sure it is, but it doesn't matter. It's very much an island. You can read it whenever you want.
Aaron and Zdarsky got together.
Yeah.
And we're like, oh, we can have a crossover. It's going to be great. And Zdarsky followed them.
Oh, he absolutely did.
And then Aaron said, I don't care.
Yeah,
right.
no.
He's like, we're not going to do that. Frank has been co-opted into the Hand. He's their avatar. He is the like king of killers.
Yeah, he's getting possessed by the demon.
The beast. He's getting powers of the Beast. He's able to fly and shoot fire out of his eyes. He melted down special ceremonial ancient magical daggers into bullets that he will use to fight, because they hand him a sword because they're a ninja clan.
Yep.
And he's killing people with swords because it's like the only thing that they encourage him to use.
And like he's also like, well, I can use this.
Yeah, no,
it's not my natural go-to.
The sharp end goes in the part I want to die, right? Like, I got it. Yeah, I got the concept. But then he like fights Lady Bullseye and stuff, and it's just like, you are sloppy and terrible at this. And of course he is, because he's like, I'm Frank Castle. I just need to kill them. I kill them with whatever. If they're 100 yards away, I use a sniper rifle. And odds are that's gonna be my usual method, because like a hand-to-hand fight is
not necessary for me.
I don't need it.
I don't have any honor.
Well, right.
So what would be the purpose?
Right, yeah, no. I'll just put a bomb in your house.
Well, like I don't need honor to win.
No.
I need them to be dead and me to be alive.
Yeah, that's it. So that I can keep making more things dead. But it's fun. It's a great moment where he's just like, yeah, melt down these stupid daggers and turn into bullets and get me like a cool, it's just a red pistol. I'm like, this I know how to use. Like, this one I'm really good at. So, and of course, Ares, the god of war, former Avenger, by the way, just completely out of left field goes like, no, my greatest child is Frank Castle. Like, he is the war that will never end. Like, I've been helping him.
Yeah, it works.
Yeah, and so he's like, oh, you strayed from the path. You're part of this other guy's thing. Well, I'll teach you. And he incorporates the Punisher's logo into his outfit and tries to like prove to him that he should be, worshiping the right god. And then Frank kills him. And it's awesome. And you can watch that episode, or just more likely read the book, because I think it's awesome and it's dope. And I remember being like, this book, yes!
Both.
I think you should. I think you absolutely should. But yeah, it's awesome. There's so many twists and turns, and through it all, you're getting this backstory, which is drawn by Azaceta, which essentially retcons Frank's origins. You know, like the hand was always there. They always knew that he was going to be this thing. And like the old lady like brings in the daggers and he's a little boy. And she's like, which one? He's like, fuck off. Yeah, because he's like a little kid from New York.
Right, I never regard these daggers.
No, exactly. He never did. And then one day he melted them into bullets that he used to kill the god of war. But never mind that. But we also get the story of like how Frank and Maria, his wife, got together, and it's through a combination of deception and you know, just good old-fashioned teenage hormones. Maria thought he was sexy. And she saw something in him. You know, like he was, of course, a hockey player. We're going to retcon that in there. And because that's
the most violent sport.
You can fight in hockey.
Yeah.
And it was like the one time, you know, she saw him in action. She's like, ooh, got all hot and bothered about it.
Yeah,
And
I'm the only player in history that ever try and take my skate off and stab a guy.
so I thought, like, this book was going in one direction. And I was so on board. And I was so wrong. But I don't hate it. And a lot of people do.
Did
Really?
they
Yes.
also threaten to, or not threaten, but offer to bring his kids back?
Of
Was that
course.
a thing?
Yes.
Yeah,
that was a thing.
Yeah, of course. They brought back Maria mostly because there was more Maria to bring back. So with the kids, there's a horrible sequence in the previous volume where they tried to bring him back, and they have been trying to bring them back.
Right.
And, you know, like they bring him into the chamber where they're bringing back, and they're just like these malformed creatures. They're like, daddy. And he's just like, that's enough.
Yep, well, that's horrible.
Well, you know, they're like, well, you understand, like, every time we try to bring them back, we have less material to work with. And they were already so young to begin with. And it's just like, ugh.
Right.
And
well, she also mentioned they've been dead longer than they were alive.
yes.
That's harder.
It's harder, yeah. And so Frank essentially wraps it up by being like, all right, he takes out his sword and then throws up outside. Like, we get what he does. He just ends it.
Yeah.
And we'll see that paid off later, or at least we'll remind you about the kids. But throughout it, you know, Maria is this kind of like zombie-esque character. She's got her mind and she's there, but like she's coming back, slowly getting back to who she was. But she's very confused. You know, didn't we live in the city? Why are there so many trees? Where are the kids? We left the kids in the park. It was just like, oh, there's a lot of tension. Plus Frank keeps leaving and doing Punisher stuff. And you know, we'd never seen like a Frank Castle having a woman to go home to at the end of the night.
Yeah, and she never knew what the Punisher was.
And she does keep asking. She's like, what's the Punisher? You know, and everybody keeps changing the subject. And of course, she's also a walking corpse. And so she's brought back by horrible, evil hand magic. So
yeah, doesn't she need like medicine?
she does. Like the high priestess keeps like injecting this green liquid into her. At one point, Frank realizes it's over. Like, this isn't going to work. So he just like wakes Maria in the middle of the night and tries to take her. And they go into the forest. And I believe Maria says something to the effect of, is this what it feels like to die? And then dies. And so it's like, yeah, no, you can't just leave. Like, look, I may devoutly believe that you are like the next coming of the beast, but I'm also not an idiot. Like, I know you're just going to take your wife and leave. Like, you wanted your wife back. You are not all in on this.
Right. And
you were the most atheistic person I've ever met in my life.
you're not going to like uphold any agreement where like, I'll bring your wife back, but you stay and be like,
Oh,
you'll
yeah,
just
totally.
when you get what you want, you'll just leave.
You'll kill me and leave.
Yeah,
And
because
he
I'm
even
a
says-
criminal.
Right. No, he's like, one day I will burn this entire citadel to the ground.
Right.
Like, that is
I'm
the
not
end.
part of this.
That is the story of you. I will use this because, like, I'm here. You know, if I'm in the middle of, like, a slugfest with a murderer and there's a spoon, he's going to die by spoon. You know? If I am committing my one-man war on whatever I'm committing a one-man war on, you know, like evil, crime, whatever.
Yeah, wasn't it like they were punishing people and only killing innocents? Like he was having the hand do that?
Yeah, he was just sending the hand out. It's like, if I'm the de facto leader of an organization of shadow ninjas, I'm going to use them to kill all the bad people I could think of in the world.
Yeah.
Right. And then I'll kill them.
And then I'll destroy them. And and it's like, you're just like, nothing about this is inconsistent with Frank.
Yeah. Frank doesn't get to live happily ever after.
Well, I mean,
not with the things he's done.
But now he is. Like, or at least it's within his grasp. And what does that mean? And that's what the whole book is, like, secretly about. Is like, does Frank want to settle down? Would Frank ever be happy? And then Aaron also adds all this backstory about, like, Maria, because we don't really know. Maria's invented to die.
Right.
Because Frank Castle in 1973 was invented to be essentially a Death Wish character. Whereas every other member of the Marvel Universe was invented as like a fun superhero interpretation, science fiction angle reaction to the atomic age, Frank came out of the movie genre of the revenge thriller.
Yeah, his power is he doesn't give a crap.
He doesn't.
About your rules.
His power is fictitious, so he can't die. You know, and,
Right.
and Aaron actually addresses that a little bit, where it's like, what do you do with a character? Like, you can't. We're not going to Grant Morrison this, where it's like he knows he's not real. No, it's just like, what do you do with a character like Punisher, who's been killing bad people since essentially 1973? You know, we know what Garth Ennis would do. He'd make it about Vietnam. But everybody else is like, well, what do you do with that? Especially in the main Marvel universe. So we see that too. And it's just, someone accuses him of being like the most successful mass murderer in history.
And they're not wrong.
No, it's true. He's very successful in what he does because he has to be, because he's a character in a comic book series where every issue he has to kill multiple people.
Yeah. If he were a villain,
Yeah.
he wouldn't be as successful.
It would exactly. He couldn't be. He couldn't be because he would make the Marvel universe look stupid and impotent. But I mean, arguably, any Frank Castle fan would be like, because it is. Like, Frank Castle makes Spider-Man look like a dweeb every single day.
Right.
And it's like, yeah,
'cause he would just kill Green Goblin.
Yeah,
or he would
no,
just-
there would not be. There's a reason why Frank has very few rogues. So, you know, the whole thing kind of wraps up in the first half where Frank and Maria have an understanding that the children aren't coming back. And Maria's kind of like, that's probably for the best. But we also find out like how Maria falls in love with Frank and all that stuff. And we get this implication of what Frank was like after he came back from the war, which of course always was Vietnam, but let's say that it's something else because
That was too long ago.
it's too long ago. He's not a 75-year-old man who's like, oh, gotta get him. People don't really like this book. They didn't like it from the get-go. And when I say they, I mean a vocal minority of people who are really angry.
Like Punisher fans?
I assume, no. I
No?
would say
No,
no.
if you're a Punisher fan, like, this should be up your alley.
I completely agree. I completely
Yeah,
agree.
there's all magic and stuff.
but
They're
you-
changing the character.
He was literally
No,
turned
he-
into a Frankenstein monster once.
He breaks it. He goes against the
Yeah,
regime.
he's you. He's the audience's avatar who goes like, "Hey, you know what's really stupid is these guys."
Yeah.
You're reading it to watch Frank get one over on dumb ninjas.
Okay, so who doesn't like it then?
Right.
And for what reason?
Oh, people who are professionally outraged to monetize anger.
Oh, I see. But about what? What part don't they like?
They started out not liking it because they changed the logo.
Oh, right.
And when I say they
Yes.
changed the logo, I mean
Right.
the logo is in every single issue of the book. But like, never mind that. He's not physically wearing
Yeah,
it.
he changed his shirt.
His shirt is different. He's wearing
Yeah.
a different T-shirt.
Oh, I remember now. It's because they interpreted him changing the logo as like a permanent change because Marvel was acknowledging that the logo was like tainted.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
That's
it is
definitely
tainted.
not what happened though.
No, it's not. Well,
It's just like a fun change.
yes.
Because you still see the logo.
And that's the thing is the logo is used throughout the book.
But I guess they put, you know what's worse? They put on the bad guy.
Yeah. Well,
They're saying that the old logo is bad.
well, and I can imagine, you know, like in another world, the Ares being Frank's god is its own book. Like you could do the whole damn book all over again with Ares seeking out Frank. But I like the idea that Ares has always just quietly been a big fan of Frank's, and it's only when Frank finally finds religion that he's like, no, if Frank's gonna find religion, it's me.
Right. Not
It'd be fun if it was
ninjas.
always
Ninja's
just like,
stupid.
well, I always gave him boons. Why do you
Yeah.
think he never died?
Right.
I wish they'd gone
I've been
that
looking
far.
out for you
Right.
your whole life.
Yeah, and then you betray me for what? Like some fat demon who doesn't even show up in the book?
Let's see you go on a few more missions, see how well you do without good old Ares.
Oh no, the Manfredi's family's back in town. Go on, Frank. Good luck. Like, that'd be funny. I would love to see that. But Ares is an antagonist and he's wearing the logo and, you know, he's obviously very
Yeah, because he's an old school Punisher fan.
Exactly.
Right.
He really is. He is completely an old school Punisher. They put old school Punisher lines in his dialogue. You know, this is not you, Frank. This is stupid.
Yeah.
Why are you worshiping ninjas?
I will say, I am not a fan of the new logo.
You know, I don't care one way or the other.
I don't either.
I think it's cool
I
looking.
don't like the bottom. The horns are fine.
like the
I don't like the
bottom.
weird tusk teeth.
Yeah, it
Oh,
looks like
It's going,
yeah, whatever. I mean, that's fair. I can't argue with that. It does probably go for her, but like, I don't care one way or the other. I don't care because I know what Marvel is. A leopard that don't change its spots. That's what Marvel is.
Well, yeah.
Marvel is like, oh no, people are upset about the logo. Well, I own it. So I'm going to use it. But if people are talking about it, I guess I'll entertain some pitches that may also include changing the logo. Get people to keep talking about it.
Right.
Because there was no coincidence that this book came out and a new Punisher t-shirt with that logo was available at New York Comic Con the same year. So yeah, Marvel is just like thrilled that people are outraged about it. Or at least they were when it mattered.
Hey, do you like the new Punisher logo? Buy the t-shirt.
No!
Hey, do you like the old Punisher logo? Buy the t-shirt.
Yeah, we're not going to stop
Choose your
selling
side.
it.
Who do you support? Old logo or
only.
new logo?
Oh my God, if only they'd gone like even further with like who will wield the flak jacket. You know, it's like there's a new Punisher. They did actually introduce a new Punisher after that, and he also has a different logo. You know, he
Introduced a new Punisher?
Yeah.
Like a new guy? Like
New
a
guy
different Punisher?
on a book called Punisher.
Oh.
But his logo is an old Shield flak jacket that coincidentally looks like the skull, but in a kind of more futuristic way. David Pepose wrote it. It's fun and it's interesting.
It
And
doesn't have the ammo pouch teeth, does it?
no. No, it's rare that you get the ammo pouch teeth. I do love the ammo pouch teeth, but it's rare you even see it anymore.
It's right there on this cover.
Yeah.
See, I think this makes it look like Der Her. Like with the super long teeth.
Oh, like the mask?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry, not
The
mask.
Max.
The Max.
Yeah, it looks like the Max.
I agree. Because
Anyway.
I never really interpret it as a face. I see it as a logo.
Okay, but it is a face.
Yeah, but it is a face.
It is
though.
literally what is behind every face. But I dig the logo. I dig it for the story. I think it's also symbolically changing who Frank is because Frank is in a completely new place. But you get all the backstory that is very much grounded in reality, even though, you know,
That's
there's-
even worse. This is like you're cementing this as Frank's canon.
Yes, they are.
And in this book where he does something that's so not Frank.
Yeah. Except that he only does Frank stuff. Like
Right.
Frank is
Yeah, except
so
that's just wrong.
unchangeable.
Yeah.
But the thing is, the thing they did change was that like Frank didn't have a very happy marriage, which you can imagine at any point. Like no kidding, he didn't have a happy marriage. He's a complete psychopath. There was no version of Frank Castle that was happy-go-lucky and an attentive lover and husband. And then
Otherwise, he would have moved on.
Yeah, he wouldn't
Right.
have become this guy.
if he was well-adjusted to begin with, he wouldn't be the Punisher.
Yeah, but I don't like that.
He's not the Joker.
I
all right?
know, but I want him to be. I like the idea
I think the
that
Joker's
one bad
cool.
day can make anybody into a total psychopath. The Joker's right.
That's the kind of thing a psychopath would want to see or think about. And that's the problem.
Yes.
And it's like why it's like I don't listen to you. It's why I don't validate any of that kind of criticism.
It also doesn't work. Like, oh, I'm going to kill every bad person.
What? Now nobody talks about it, well, as you can imagine. So like the book is out, you need to buy it. It's awesome.
I assume he returns to the old status quo at the end.
No, they still haven't brought him back. This book
still
came
got
out in
Ninja
22.
Frank?
No.
Oh, okay.
No. Ninja Frank is in this
And that's
series, and then we never have Ninja Frank again.
We don't need this one anymore.
No. But you're welcome to refer
We got
to it
like
if you
two or three issues into this one.
We
right?
did, yeah.
Volume 2, okay.
Exactly.
Because I remember I got to the end of this one, I'm flipping through, and I'm like, wait, there was more.
Yeah, and
okay.
it's up to here. Like, no, we only have like 3 issues to cover, which is why I talk so much.
Yeah, so where did it leave off in our
we-
last episode?
We left off with Frank.
When we last left our Punisher.
Yeah, exactly. Previously on back issues, Ares attacked the Citadel. Frank brought out his army of ninjas and he killed Ares. And meanwhile, Maria starts to figure out what's going on with this whole nonsense, has a real problem with the High Priestess who's constantly like, oh, Frank, you're so great. And Maria's like, what? Like, what do you want, though? Like, you're a creepy demon lady.
Right.
Like, clearly something's going on here.
Like, there's some larger plan.
Yes. And what's your plan for my husband? And why do they keep calling him the Punisher? We don't get TV here. And so she eventually ends up, like, finding out how it all works and then welcoming her husband home in the new High Priestess outfit because she has become the new High Priestess of the Hand.
Right.
And, bride of the Hand of the Beast. And so High
She
Priestess
doesn't know anything about the hand or like how.
Oh yeah, no, but who cares? Because like
Right.
we listen to Frank. He's the one in charge.
I just
He's our
walked
god
in
or
and
whatever.
took shit over.
That's right. And High Priest's like, no! And you're kind of like, what? Because there's also a moment where you're kind of like, I think I understand who Maria is. Maria seems to get off on Frank being a monster. At least that seemed to be where the book was going.
I mean, considering the fact that she fell in love with him when he was really young, getting into fights and hockey and beating people up.
No, so Frank like defended a nerd, and the nerd wrote like mash notes to her that were flowery and beautiful. So for her, she was like, there's this like grizzled, powerful man within this teenage exterior, but deep within him is like a sensitive soul that could also,
which was a lie.
Which was a complete lie. But she also was like, watching him work was really it's like watching, an artisan do what they do. And that'll be paid off later in the story as well, where she ends up like, after they get married and they have children, he starts leaving. Like, originally, he worked at like a meatpacking plant, and she decides originally in the new retcon, when he comes back from the war, he's changed and he's sleeping in a tent in the yard, and they try all this stuff. Like, they try to go to church, and he confesses his sins to the priest, and the priest basically quits, and then they go to marriage counseling, and the marriage counselor keeps talking about how he's like, you're not a soldier anymore, you're a husband. And he's like, I'm not a soldier. And she's like, oh, good. He's like, I'm a Marine. That's the only thing he contributed to the entire marriage counseling session. So like, none of these things are working, and eventually they come to some kind of weird mutual accord, and so they end up having kids, and they consummate their marriage consistently, and they have a uneasy, tense relationship.
Oh, they have like every relationship in the 1970s. Got it.
So it's kind of
it's more like a never-ending truce.
Yes.
It's like a partnership.
Yeah. And she keeps like looking. We don't really pay off the nerd thing anymore. Like the fact that she has like she suspects that the notes were forged.
Right.
So for her, that's out. Like, it's not like one day I'm going to crack that exterior. No, she's just kind of like, I want to know who he is, and I want to understand him. And occasionally she'd find out about like him going to veterans bars and how people would like stand at attention and get out of his way, and they like tell Frank stories.
Right,
and
but she doesn't know
other.
what happened to the
No, she doesn't know the man and what he's done,
and he doesn't want her to know.
No, he doesn't. And so eventually,
that's the thing, Frank. You got to let her in.
You got to let her in, and he's like, no. And that's the thing about Frank, is that he's too consistent. My problems with this book are only that we don't pay off this like really interesting relationship that otherwise we would never see, because Maria's supposed to be a corpse. Is that like, what if Frank really had a partner in Maria? We have inklings of it, and that's where I thought it was going, where it's like, Maria's like, no, if I only survived long enough to watch you become the Punisher, I would have been all in, and I'd have a skull shirt, and we'd be like this Bonnie and Clyde murdering duo.
Yeah, I didn't really... She takes over the hand. She's just like, I'm freaking in.
Yeah, it does seem like it's where it's going.
That's what I thought it was.
Because doesn't she find out what he did in the war? And she's like, oh, that's awesome.
No,
she doesn't find out.
No.
I can't remember where it ended.
But she does see him work.
Okay.
And so she was following him at one point, and like she went to like the bar he goes to, and there's this one dude, and he's this loudmouth drunk idiot, and he's talking about he worked for essentially Blackwater. He doesn't say Blackwater. But he was like, I don't know why people call them war crimes when they feel so good. And he's like clapping Frank on the back, talking about doing all this shit. And then just there's one splash page of Frank just beating the man almost to death. And it took 10 men to get him off of him eventually. And she's like, watching him do that, like I'd never been more turned on. Like I saw this man. It was like watching like poetry in motion. It was just incredible to see him like expertly beat this man savagely. And I'm like, yeah, I kind of get that. Like, not that I get the feeling, but I get, okay, now I understand Maria a little better. But it's more like, no, that's not who Maria is. That's what Maria...
Then why she think that?
That's what she observed. She's like, I understand what my husband is and what he could never be. The war's over. He's not murdering people anymore. They also retconned in the previous volume that, like, he killed someone when he was 10. Like, there was this big jerk who, like, beat his wife in public and everything, and then one day Frank burned him alive wearing a Captain America mask.
Yes.
And, and that was, like, the first kill. And people were mad about that. And I'm like,
why?
Because Punisher Born exists, which is a Garth Ennis, Frank Castle, Vietnam book about, like, how Frank became the Punisher before the Punisher ever showed up.
Yeah.
And it's
this
insane,
is like how
and
he
it's
became the Punisher before that time he became
well,
the
and
Punisher.
even then, like Punisher Born is like Punisher Born is the canon for Punisher Max Punisher, not for 616 Punisher.
Yeah, I forget the whole burning the guy alive thing, but I was like, there's an aspect to that that's really disturbing.
Oh yeah. Well, first of all, a 10-year-old boy doing it. Secondly, doing it with hairspray and a lighter. Also wearing a Captain America mask and doing that, and just the fact that like a man was burned at all, much less to death. So yeah, there's a lot of horrors involved.
Yeah, I forgot about that part. That a lot of people wouldn't like that either, because they'd be like, "Well, but that's horrifying.
Yeah, well,
you're depicting this graphic, violent
murderer!
like birth of the Punisher, but
Yeah,
no,
but
he's
like,
a
he's
hero.
a murderer now, not when he was a child. I was like, no, he was always messed
But
up.
that's creepy when he's a kid. Don't do that.
What do you care? Like, why do you care what Frank was
Because
like?
I want to like him, and I can't like that because that's disturbing.
Yes.
I
Well,
understand
yes.
that people would find that upsetting.
Yes.
I
Can't
like
get
that.
behind him then.
Welcome to the party, pal. Frank's not a hero. Frank, no! Frank's a psycho. And it's fun to watch psychos.
Yeah.
There's a movie about
It's
it.
okay for it to be fun. You're not supposed
He's not
to
the
idolize
hero.
him.
Norman
Yeah.
Bates isn't a hero, despite the fact that he's the psycho.
That's
talking
his
about
name on the
American
movie.
Psycho.
What do you mean?
Yeah. But like, Frank's cool to watch. I like watching people who are experts at murdering people in fictitious environments.
Just like Maria.
Just like Maria. She's like,
And the Predator.
That's impressive.
yeah, the Predator's cool. He's not the hero of the movie. He's not my favorite character. I like the Predator as a device to tell cool stories about badasses or people who weren't badasses but become one by fighting the Predator. But like the Predator, I don't care what a Yautja is or how their mythology works. Their plot device is to make other people cool. Characters.
Yeah.
Frank Castle, I couldn't understand why there are so many Punisher books and why they went on for so long when you have such an unlikable protagonist like Frank Castle, or certainly a unrelatable one.
Yeah.
He's cool to watch. That's why Garth Ennis's Punisher Max book was so successful. That's all it was. It was just horrible, dark, cynical wish fulfillment. Watch this man kill child murderers and sex traffickers. Okay, since no one will do that, and since that would be insane, let's watch this guy do it
Right.
in a fake media environment. That's what's fun about watching Punisher. It's when you start to think that you could solve problems by wearing a shirt with a skull on it that it becomes a problem.
Yeah.
Or when law enforcement agents incorporate said skull into their accoutrements. When you start to think, you may be missing the point or misunderstanding who that character is because they're not supposed to be your friend. They would never like what you're doing. It's like people who send death threats that are also Spider-Man fans. I'm like, what are you talking about?
That's an oxymoron.
Exactly.
I'm just saying, I'm right. I love Spider-Man, and I'll kill you if you disagree.
That's exactly right.
Kill you like Green Goblin killed all those people.
Yeah, I'll murder you like a blonde on a bridge. Like,
Oh my God, I'm the bad guy.
if only those moments of
Only
catharsis
it
would
was
actually occur to them.
possible for them to be that self-aware. Okay, so I think we did leave off where
She's the priestess. Like,
yeah, she's the priestess, and in the past, she sees him like take that guy apart.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
And so she's kind of like, but we're watching like her in waves because we didn't get the whole retcon of Frank and Maria's relationship because we'd have to lead up to her death, which we do inevitably. And throughout the story, Maria's memories and experiences are coming back to her. So we're kind of watching her kind of move through the stages of who she was as a person in his past in the current story. At the point we were talking about in the past when she saw him almost execute that dude in the bar, that was like, I was impressed. And I wanted to see
I guess
it.
this is what I am. I'm impressed by violence. I'm going to become the priestess.
Right, but I don't know if I think she's playing the long game in this story, but maybe she's doing it in waves. And at this wave, she's like, I'm just hot and bothered for Punisher. But I don't know these Punisher yet.
Right.
I don't know what the
For
Punisher
this
is.
guy.
But
Here's the thing.
my husband.
He's still my husband.
Right, my husband is really good
And
at
I'm-
killing people.
Well, becoming the high priestess so she can learn the formula so that she doesn't have to rely on her.
And then I'm gonna get out of here. No. She keeps saying to him like, "Are you finished?" And he's like, "Almost." And we see that echoed throughout the past, and we see him kind of like say he'll get better or promise something and then not. And it's like, I think that another problem people have with this book is it's almost too real. Because like people don't go through a dramatic catharsis at the end of Act 2 and then like become another guy at the end of like the story that's part of their lives in their 20s. Like that's not real. It's just expedient because movies are 90 minutes. People by and large don't change, even when they're faced with like ultimatums or desperate pleas from the people that they love. And so with Frank, it's like, I'm going to change. We're going to make things work. It's going to be better. They have children. It doesn't change him at all. It doesn't soften him. He's still Frank. Now with people like Frank, like they don't change.
Right.
He's that way.
Yeah,
That's
is a
why
little too
he is
real.
so good at what he does. He is determined. He is single focused.
Yes.
Yeah.
So there's a moment where like he's reading the paper and he goes out because he needs to get a second job to pay for the children. And so he works the meatpacking plant and he goes someplace else. And it turns out that the place he's going isn't work. He's actually paying an old army buddy who works at the prison to allow him to go to executions to watch them carried out.
Oh my God. Oh my God.
I know. It's like, yes, it's, look, this book, it goes from like, whoa, look at Frank fighting Ares, dope, to like,
Oh, this
What's wrong with you,
this is
Frank?
very wrong.
I think that might be my
happening?
grandpa.
Yeah. He's
By the way-
like hurting his family to fuel his bloodlust.
I assumed executions were public. Like you could go if you wanted to.
I think,
don't
no.
think so.
I think they are
Only like victim, like
only
family
the
members of
families,
the
only
victims
people
and stuff.
who require catharsis.
Yeah.
But he doesn't talk
And, like,
to anybody.
law students and stuff.
And that guy.
Yeah. But like, no, law students and lawyers, like.
Yes.
if
Yeah,
you-
people
if
who
you-
have a
If you are going to
reason
carry them
to-
out or
yeah.
make them part of the sentencing, then yes, you should
yeah.
go.
Well, it's kind of like surgeries. Like there was a gallery for
Yeah.
watching surgeries, but you and I can't go.
No, we're
That's
not gonna-
for people who are in the industry.
Yeah, or we could go if we knew someone
Yeah,
who
yeah.
could give us a hookup,
Right.
which I don't want.
Come on,
Much
we're-
like this.
We're gonna watch someone's leg get reconstructed.
Yeah, just don't bring any junior mints with you. Or do. It saves him anyway. Of course, Maria likens his bloodlust to an affair.
Yeah, because he's more
getting
concerned
off from
about
something
that.
else.
Yeah,
than
but it's
with
like,
her. And it's a part that he's keeping to himself and not sharing with
yeah.
you.
And unlike, to link it with Psycho, unlike that awful Gus Van Sant remake of Psycho, we don't also see Frank pathetically jerking off in the corner of the execution room.
Right. It's
Because
not that.
in the original film
didn't
Psycho, Norman Bates has a hole into the suite that he puts, I believe it's Janet Leigh, and we just see this like beautifully shot Hitchcockian, and it's Hitchcockian because it's friggin' Hitchcock, scene of like her changing and him watching.
But he's still.
Yes. In the Vince Vaughn one, he's like rocking back and forth, and then he like splooges all over himself, and he's like, oh, like I did this. And you're like,
I don't want to watch.
this movie sucks. The other thing we have to include here is the contingent of superheroes that have banded together to take down Punisher.
Because he killed Ares?
No, because
Because he's getting too powerful?
he's getting too powerful. Like, Frank is killing a lot of people a lot quicker in succession and a lot more publicly, and it's becoming a problem.
Okay, Ares is the Greek god of war in this universe.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
And also a former
the
member of the
Avenger.
Avengers.
So, right. But he's a literal Greek god.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You would think the other Greek gods might be a little upset about this.
Yeah, but none of
Yeah.
them have like cool superhero costumes. Oh, maybe
they checked out.
Maybe Hercules.
I like that they're gonna Planet Hulk him.
Yeah.
Like, guys, get too powerful. Gotta do something about him.
And no
That
one
worked out
goes,
so well.
why don't we fire him into space, dipshit?
Okay,
The only one who
that
was on
may
the
not have
Illuminati,
worked last time, but
it would work.
it could work.
It
for
would work with
Frank.
Frank.
It would work with Frank.
I mean, he is powered by a demon as opposed to Hulk's gamma irradiated rage, but whatever.
Yeah, but he doesn't have microchip to help him like rewire the rocket.
Well, and like that would be a fun book. Is like Frank in space, but they already did that. They did that before, and it was not fun. But maybe Demon Frank in space. Nah.
Yeah. Well, I don't
Wasn't
you don't have to send him
Galactic
into
Ghost
space.
Rider or whatever it was.
Cosmic Ghost
Cosmic
Rider
Ghost Rider.
is Frank.
Galactic Punisher.
I mean, it is.
Yeah, Frank is
Cosmic Ghost Rider,
yeah.
so yes.
Yeah. No, but metaphorically Planet Hulk him. Not
Exactly.
literally do the same
No,
thing,
but we
just
are
like
gonna-
team up and like take care of
A
him.
handful of Marvel superheroes, including Doctor Strange, are going to make a decision about a American citizen without their discussion.
who they
without
have
their
decided has become a problem that needs to be dealt with.
Yes.
To be fair, that's what practically every superhero team does. That person's being a problem.
That's true.
We're going to take care of it internally instead of letting the government do it.
I mean, and look,
fair.
Frank does kind of qualify as like a Green Goblin level problem. You know, like where it's like, yes, if they were like Bob Johnson of 21 Jackson Street, New Jersey, is going to get it.
Yeah.
It's like, whoa, Avengers. But if it's like the Green Goblin is attacking the city again, it's like, no, we're gonna do something about it.
Right.
And Frank went from Bob Johnson to Green Goblin.
But he's still only hurting bad guys.
Yeah,
right?
but
But
like,
he's also running the hand, and he just killed a
Yeah.
god.
well, and we'll see what he's doing
got a
with his.
demon in him or whatever.
Well, then that's the thing is like also he
That's
beat
like-
up, he slapped Daredevil around.
Oh yeah.
And yeah, but he also was like, look what I could do. Like, look at me, Matt.
right.
This is me.
getting megalomaniacal.
I can't.
No, I know, but he's like, this is me at my most calm and my most rational. Like, I am not being possessed by a demon.
Yeah,
I am wielding a demon.
Yeah. You think it's controlling me.
Yeah. Like,
I'm
Frank, you gotta
using
snap out of it. He's like, stop trying. I don't need anything to be snapped out of.
Right, I'm in control.
Yes. So we got this cadre of heroes: Captain America, Doctor Strange, Wolverine, Moon Knight, and Black Widow. These characters all have some history with Frank. Some of it's good, most of it's bad. This would absolutely include Daredevil and Spider-Man, but they're both very busy, and it would be frustrating to include them because it would only further complicate the whether this is in continuity or not of the
Right.
book. Like, the fact that these are the characters that show up to take care of Frank makes this in canon. If
Right.
we wanted it to be, it's kind of like own divorce from
I'm
reality.
not contradicting anything because they're not doing anything right now.
Yes, well, because Spider-Man and Daredevil are absolutely too busy to be dealing with Frank right now.
Right.
Or Daredevil should be directly dealing with Frank in his book Daredevil, but
he's
he
not
won't
going
be
to be, so it
because
doesn't-
Frank
yeah.
has a book
Right.
about that. So it's still a pretty fun cadre of characters. Frank one time blew Wolverine's face off with a shotgun and then ran him over with a steamroller, so Wolverine has a vested interest in seeing Frank die. Black Widow and Frank have teamed up, so has Moon Knight and Frank, and Captain America has nothing but disdain for this guy.
Right, but Frank idolized
They're
him
two
as
very
a kid.
different
Yes,
soldiers.
and Doctor Strange and Frank may have also had like a team-up book called Magic Bullets.
That rings a bell.
Yeah, it was a weird digital exclusive book that Tiffany could host. Punisher, Doctor Strange, Magic Bullets.
Yeah, I think she talked about that.
she did.
Sounds familiar.
Yeah.
Also, there's a demon
And a
involved,
demon. And there's a
so-
demon.
So
Yeah.
it's
And-
officially Doctor Strange's turf.
And Jason Aaron wrote Doctor Strange, and arguably Doctor Strange hadn't had a good run since Jason Aaron at this point. He's amazing in this. Like his reactions. He even wields his Jason Aaron era Doctor Strange axe in this, just because Aaron wrote Doctor Strange. And
It's
he
like,
wielded
hey,
it.
I remember he had that axe. I'm going to get that axe.
I'm gonna
out
get that
again.
axe out there.
Yeah.
It's actually not even the same axe because it wouldn't make sense for him to wield it, so he wields a magic axe that looks just like
A
it.
different one.
Because Aaron's like, I know he wouldn't use it because he can't because I wrote that book.
But
and
I really
know what
like that
happens.
axe,
But
so-
I also want you to know that I wrote that book.
But also,
So-
people love Doctor Strange with an axe.
Right.
There you go.
So what's Frank doing now that like Maria's kind of endorsed him?
Right, and
Well,
he's defeated Ares.
Yes,
so-
and he's defeated Ares, so he's unopposed. So now he just goes and does Punisher stuff on a global scale. Like there's this Generale who's been in charge and says that he's going to be doing XYZ, and Frank is killing all of his soldiers to get to him. And while the general is in a bunker, he's watching TV. And the TV is reporting all the things that Frank has done to lead up to this point. Like, there was this billionaire trafficker plane that had this guy on it who was untouchable, and he kept like flying horrible monsters around and
Oh,
having
was he like
parties.
always flying so like
Yeah.
he could never land and
Yeah,
get
yeah.
jurisdiction and he'd
So,
get refueled?
right, so Frank just goes up there and takes the plane down, but not before murdering everyone in the plane. And like people were just rained upon with heads and limbs and stuff, and it's just like, whoa! Like there was.
International airspace. It's diplomatic immunity.
Well, it's just been revoked. There, in the like Madripoor waters, there's like this billionaire butchers club that floats around in a untouchable yacht. Well, Frank ends that and sinks the yacht into shark-infested waters, so everyone's dead.
He also rides the sharks into battle. He should.
It's like, yeah, no, he walks on water. Just showing how much respect he has for religion.
That's amazing.
He just walks away from it on the ocean. Just
awesome.
no. Then, of course, he takes down the general, and just every time that we see it portrayed once, but we have to assume he does it every single time. He gets onto the Punisher chopper. It's like the hand. It's just red. It's just a red chopper.
Just a red Apache.
Yep,
helicopter.
and he just gets on it and he goes.
It's actually a black chopper. It's just covered in blood.
Oh yeah.
It's always bloody.
Well, he used it once on like a mission where it's like.
Just dried that way.
Yeah, and but he always turns to one of his lieutenants and goes, "Who's next?" And you're like, "It's never gonna end." I should also point out there's a great moment in the past where another way that he focuses energies besides watching executions is working on this van, and it's like, oh, the van. He's one day gonna drive a van.
Souping up that van.
Yeah, but like it's just he clearly has he's a big fan of vans. But he's
Grew up in the 70s.
He's a fan of vans.
He's a fan of vans. So he's working on this van, and what he would do is he would just like work on the engine, strip it, put it back together. Like he needs to be busy.
Yeah.
Yes, and
So he's not tricking it out like an A-team like montage.
He's just
okay.
this way I don't have to talk to my wife.
I've reassembled this engine 15 times
Yes.
already.
Yeah.
Yes. And Maria is like, I'm not an idiot.
Right. You've been working on that van for like 8 years.
She brings up the van later, so I wanted to make sure that van was in this. But she goes like, how did work go? He's like, better than ever. And she's like, so are you done? He goes, almost. And she said that the last like 5 times.
Yeah.
So
Yep. He'll never be done.
he'll never be done. So we go to like the island of Bagalia, a horrible place of like disrepute. He just destroys the city. Just like, that's done. All right, that worked out pretty well. I took down Bagalia, all of it. Just him standing on the city like, I killed them all.
They're going to rebuild, Frank.
Yeah, more bad guys are just gonna move into it.
Yeah, it goes back to Maria and she's like, all right, let me guess. Another one? Like, oh, we're almost done? Guess what? Don't come home until it is done.
Oh, shit.
And he looks at her and he thinks of reaching for her as they were like riddled with bullets in the park. And he just walks away. And then one of the ninjas is like, we're getting close to the end of the names on your list. And he goes, no. And his eyes glow red. And he goes, there's another list of names. Add them to the list. And then leaves. And she points to another ninja and she goes, I am the bride of Frank Castle, the man to whom you bow. You will listen to me and bring me through every room in the Citadel until I find what I'm looking for. He's like, okay, cool. You didn't have to do all that.
Whatever. Yeah, just ask. It's fine.
I'm just a ninja, you know. But eventually, she goes through, like, she watches the ninjas train. She finds the mantle of Ares. I guess his helmet is just sitting there, along with the gun that killed him. And then goes out to a courtyard, and she finds the graves of her children. And then she finds the rest of the graves of her children. There's like hundreds of graves with her children's names on them, the 2 children's names on them. And she's like, wait, what is this? Meanwhile, as she discovers this, we see that the priestess is like monitoring Frank through magic or whatever. And Frank is now, gone through the steps of the beast or some crap. And one of them is that he gets the sight. And the sight is that he knows what people will do.
Oh no. Oh no.
So he goes to like a bunker that no one's ever heard of, full of white supremacists, and just slaughters them. Like nobody even knew they were there. And the priestess explains to the audience like that they were there and who they are. And he doesn't even see them as people anymore. As he's becoming more and more possessed, he sees them as just meat creatures.
Oh my god.
That express what they do and why they deserve to die. I'm like, this is so awesome. Like, how could you not like this? How could you not dig on these meat creatures? I kill and hate. I kill, covet, hate, and hurt. Just throwing themselves at him. And he's just slaughtering them until one of the meat creatures is a little boy who comes up to him and he says, I've been raised to kill and hate, and someday I hope to. Someday I will.
Oh.
And he pulls up his sword, and then he's like, no! And he shatters the sword.
Oh.
And he says to the lieutenants, like, we're done. Tell my wife I'm coming home. And then the heroes show up, and they're like, you're not going to your wife. You're going with us. You're going to jail. Yes!
Oh boy.
So Frank's got to fight the heroes.
Yep.
We also see like what Maria was up to as we lead to her inevitable death. Frank, of course, taught her how to shoot. And there's a sequence where she's at the range by herself because Frank's feel stripping the van or
watching
masturbating
an
to executions or whatever. But she's a crack shot. She's good at this now. And there's this dude at the range, and he's like, "Hey, you want me? Your stance is a little off." My stance is perfect. She's thinking, but like, and he's like, "Oh, I want to show you." And to express how she feels about his desire to touch her, she puts like 3 shots in the sheet's chest perfectly, and he leaves. But she also is like, I kind of liked the idea of a man wanting me again.
Uh-oh.
Instead of wanting to rebuild a van.
Right.
Yeah. So she rallies herself and she goes out to the van where Frank is working. She goes, "Hey Frank, why don't we get out of the house this weekend and go to the park?" And he's like, "Okay." Of course, we know where that's going.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, the heroes are attacking him. Doc wraps Frank up in a bunch of magic chains and tries to excise the beast.
The demon thing,
now it's not like, and what's awesome is the description of it. It's not like there's a guy in there like Zarathos possessing a Ghost Rider. The way they're describing it is great because like Frank is chained up with magic chains and he's just screaming, and there's these big lumpy red clouds of demon coming out of his orifices.
Oh.
And I think it's like Moon Knight who's like, "Can we do anything?"
Nope.
And Doctor Strange's description of it is amazing because he says he's performing an abscission of ectoplasmic necromucus. An abscission is the removal of tumors. So it's just like, yeah, and he's like, and it's taking every ounce of energy to do it, and it requires like the mastery of both surgery and magic. But by all means, please continue to ask me questions. Eventually, Frank frees himself, cracks his chains, and the heroes spring into action. Like Wolverine comes out, he's just like, "I'm gonna get you!" And Frank just catches his claws by letting the claws go into his hand, and then turns his hand and just plunges the claws back into Wolverine's face.
Yeah, he's a god.
He's a god.
Everybody punches through one of Doctor Strange's shields, just punches right through it.
Yep, exactly.
Like, what are these people going to do? Only Doctor Strange is any good at all.
Yes.
And he just failed to contain him.
Well, the heroes are there to kind of like whittle him down.
There's one last superhero.
Yeah.
That's Captain America. He's just gonna look at him disappointingly and be like, "I expected better."
Yeah, that's exactly what happens.
Really?
Yeah, no, they all like they're fighting him and they're trying to reach him, and then Captain America just walks through the open red flames and says, "Stand down. You're done." And Frank's like, "Yes, I am," and then flies away.
Yeah, because he already was.
He was done. Like you
before you showed up and started
instigated
punching
this.
me.
Yeah, I would if you let me.
Okay, when I said stand down, that meant like stay in one spot. That didn't mean leave.
Yeah, it also means like give up that
Damn it.
demon that's inside you voluntarily.
Yeah.
But he's not gonna do that.
Right. No, but I
Well, I
think
still have to get home.
well, the implication
Not a
I
bus
think
fare.
is throughout the book, like they keep like pulling shit out of him. Like I think that he's just choked with magical tumors that would essentially make up a demon or something. Like whatever. Eventually, they do drain him of his shit. So I assume that he is less powerful now that we've done some obsession versus when he was not.
So it's not like Doctor Strange got interrupted and so
And then
the
they
whole
all
spell
go back
failed.
in.
No, it's like I got partway done.
Yes.
He's a little bit less.
We're not going to have to go through all the time we spent in New York.
Right. Okay. All right.
Right?
Makes sense.
So Maria and Frank go to the park with their children. Maria, while she's going to the park, remembers the time that she hired a private investigator to follow Frank around. The private investigator, in the flashback, explains, like, he just goes to his old neighborhood where he grew up, and then he goes to the roof and he just sits there. And I don't know why, but I do know the history of this town, and he
He's
explains...
not having like an affair.
No.
He's not like going out and drinking all the time.
No, he just goes to where he went to commit his first murder. And that's like the idea. And, the private investigator is just explaining it to a tape recorder, and then Frank pops up behind him with a gun to his head, and he goes, "Tell her I'm sleeping with another woman. And stop following me."
Oh my God.
And then Maria explains, the private investigator told me that he was sleeping with a diner waitress, but I never believed him. Like the fear in his eyes
It's
told
like
me
Frank
everything.
got to him.
Frank found him.
It's like, God damn it.
Ah, damn it. Meanwhile, of course, Frank's like flying over the, going back to Maria.
Yeah.
Doctor Strange comes out and he's like, "Oh, here we go," and just chops him with a magic axe. Doc explains, like, you don't know how much shit I've been through because of what you're doing. Like, because Jason Aaron's the guy who explained that magic has a cost and there's a price and you have to, if you do one thing over here, it has to balance over here. So, like, Frank mucking around with ancient beast magic has caused untold messed up crap that Doc has had to deal with single-handedly, which includes, like, a woman giving birth to demons and, like, just all this crap. And he's just like, you don't understand. Like, you're a dumbass. Like, you're a stupid 70s action hero.
Right.
You have no business doing this story.
You also haven't thought about the consequences of your actions.
Why would you?
Right,
But he's like, why would I? I don't care about any of that, Doc. Stop hitting me.
Why don't you stop hitting yourself?
Doc's like, this is why you're not a cosmic character. This is why you're not a magical being.
Right,
Like,
because you don't get this stuff.
You don't understand, like, your actions have consequences. What will you learn?
Yeah, you can't just take a evil demon into your body and do whatever you want with
and then
it.
destroy
and everything's
countries of
fine.
bad guys and expect everything to be better.
Yeah.
And he's like, I don't. Like, obviously he doesn't say that, but like, why would I explain that?
Can't you see it's like part of a whole thing? There's a whole cult. There's a cult, man.
Right,
Like, they obviously have a plan
Yeah. Well, yeah, but I don't care
that you
about
are
that.
integral to.
Yeah, but at the heart of it, I don't really care about anything. I just need to kill people.
Right.
And I can get away with it, and people will make allowances for me if they're bad people.
Yeah.
Oh, now people really don't like this book.
Nobody says that, but like that's the heart of it.
Right.
The heart of it is that Punisher needs a war.
Yeah, because he's
And
like,
to be
he keeps
fair,
escalating.
That's right. We do like seeing that stuff.
It's cool.
Because he's killing bad people.
Yeah, it's cool. Yeah, if he was just killing good people or anyone, it'd be weird.
Now, all that said, he is trying to go home right now.
Yes.
But he also
they're like-
refuses to give up this demon thing. So it's like,
Well-
if you're really done, why wouldn't you give up the demon?
Well, and also, like, you just destroyed, like, a country, and, you attacked all these things, like...
Yeah, you're trying to fight future crime now. Like, it's
Well, they don't even know about that, Well, they do because they went to the place...
pre-crime. Pre-crime.
Yeah, pre-crime,
Yeah.
no. The Civil War II, don't do it. It sucks, I promise you. Even if it's... The moral implications aside, that book sucks. Anyway, eventually he's just like, all right, Cap, like, I'm going to have to fight you now. Like, he tries not to, but, Cap hits him in the face with the shield, and he thinks of his wife, who's like, don't come home unless it's over. And he's like, I'm going home to my wife. Like, it is over. I'm going to have to fight you, Cap. So he does, and then eventually he just slips away and makes it back to Maria.
Yeah.
They fight through the enchanted forest that surrounds the Hand headquarters, and while they're doing that, like while they're fighting, Maria demands to see the library. And one of the Hand ninjas is like, "Oh yes, the library. We've chronicled like every murder."
It's like a video library.
Yeah, and it is available. And she goes into the library, which is full of view screens. She says, "Show me the Punisher." And
Like from his previous days?
Yeah,
explain
from all the stuff from before I
what
got
is the
here.
Punisher?
Yeah.
And so there's like a narration that explains, like, Frank Castle was a Marine who took his wife and children to the park when they were senselessly slaughtered in the middle of a gang war. And since that day, Frank Castle became the Punisher to avenge the deaths of his wife and children. And she sees every murder that the Punisher's ever committed. And like, what she sees is what Frank does. What Frank has always done. And she is horrified and incensed that he besmirches the name of her and her children as a justification for doing it.
Good.
Like, no.
Right.
You would do this anyway.
We were your excuse.
We're
We're not a reason.
Yes.
Yeah.
We're what you just point to be like, oh, because of that.
Yeah, no.
You would have done that anyway.
You would have done this anyway, or you wanted to.
Yeah, you had the idea to.
If
and
only-
it's like
yeah.
our desk like gave you permission
Yes.
in like a twisted like
Yes.
way, but that's like fucked up.
Yeah, exactly. No, she says, like, in previous flashbacks, she
Yeah.
explains,
It wasn't getting vengeance. It's not like you killed the crime family and then stopped.
no,
Right.
he did.
Yeah, he did do
But
that.
also, he
but,
kept going and ramped it up
Yeah.
and just kept going further and further. In a flashback, she's talking about how, like, I imagine what he would be if we weren't in the way. And it's good. She's like, I like what he would be. And I think what he would do is good. But it would be at the expense of his children and wife. Which is what ultimately makes her have this thought to go to the park. So they go to the park, and she's like, I've never been more focused and more sure in my life. And Frank says something like, where do you want to go with the kids once the van's finished? Like, the van should be finished pretty much in the next day or two.
Mm-hmm.
And she says, we're never going anywhere in that stupid van. And he's like, what do you mean? And she's like, I want to be happy. And as she's talking to him, the crime families are assembled. And they're about to commit their, inadvertent assassination.
Mm-hmm.
They're about to create the Punisher.
Right.
And as she's talking to him, she's explaining to him that she wants a divorce.
Oh my
Which
God.
is the other thing people are like, what?
Right. Wow.
She was about to leave him when they died.
And she's just remembering it now.
Yeah, I definitely see why people don't like this book. Holy crap.
It's so dark and
really
dour.
dark, yeah.
It's just like, ugh.
Yeah, it wasn't bad enough that he lost his family in the park.
Yeah, he was
He
about
already
to-
lost his family,
Yep.
and then he never got the chance to get them back.
Yeah, you never were doing it for us.
Right.
You knew
Yeah,
I'd already
already told you I was leaving you.
Yeah. Well, she says like
No, he still loves his children. Or
well,
he
yeah,
could,
but she's about to
although
say
he doesn't
divorce. She's in
seem
the
to.
middle of the word divorce when they die.
Yeah. Oh man.
I want a div.
Yes,
I
and
want
then
Divination?
now he
Dinner party?
knows. He knows what she wants.
Oh, I'm gonna put it in something else.
So, Frank is on the steps of the Citadel. He's coming home to Maria. The heroes are taken over by giant magical trees to keep them from him. And he's like, I did it, I'm home. And she pulls out his magical handgun and shoots him.
Wow.
Where she's like, I just saw what you did in the names of our children. Like, all hail the king of killers, and then just blows him away.
Wow.
So he's like, this causes the beast powers to ooze out of him.
Well, yeah, they're ceremonial bullets.
Exactly. They're special magical bullets that were melted down from those ceremonial daggers.
Yeah.
So he's bleeding out. The high priestess shows up, the original one. She's like, oh, Frank. You're like, we were never going, you're like, I knew this was coming. Like, I knew you were always going to, like, once you wanted me to bring back your kids, and we had to do it like 100 times, you're like, I knew you weren't strong enough. And even then, like, she says a lot of contradictory stuff, but for the most part, she's like, I believe that you were the thing we needed, but I also knew you were too weak to ever become it. And that's why, like, I'm going to let you die, and then when we bring you back, we're going to leave out the wife and kids part. That's what the hand does.
Right. Okay.
Right. Like, geez. And Frank's like, as you lose the power of the beast, I'm going to kill you and then bring you back using magical hand technology. And he's like,
Right.
no, I left a little bit of the beast for the last name on my list. And then burns her with his friggin' crazy magical demon powers. This doesn't kill her, obviously, because she's a fun character that we invented for the story, so we gotta keep
Yeah,
her
and
around.
she's some kind of demon herself because she has tentacles and crap.
Yeah,
She can
exactly.
fly.
We established that earlier because he chops her head off in the previous volume. She's like,
right.
you can't kill me. I'm basically the emperor.
Right.
So, she's like, ah! And she just runs off into the forest.
So what was her plan? Do we get any?
Yeah, we're going to kill you. Well, the plan is you're going to be the thing we need. Like, you are it.
Like, you're going to get there.
You're going to get there, but I'm just going to have to, like,
You're going to have to be
fake it.
undead, and you won't be you anymore. You'll be, like...
Well, because I never really wanted you.
Right.
Like, I
We
wanted
always
what you did.
We wanted your abilities.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we made you the king of killers.
Yeah.
Because that's how we were using you.
Yeah.
And we figured that'd be enough. And it's not, so we'll just try another avenue.
Well, and like, the king of killers killed people. You killed a lot of people.
Yeah.
If
that was great.
And that's what we wanted.
I'm just saying, kudos all around.
Well, and we don't care if they're good or bad. Just that, like, you found a lot of bad ones. So she
it's like,
escapes.
fine, yeah.
The heroes show back up.
I would much prefer it if the high priestess was like, we saw you spare someone.
Yeah. Oh, no, that's it. Oh, that was
she
the thing
does say that.
That was the thing. She was like, no. Like, I knew you were never going to do it once you didn't kill the boy.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah, she's like, okay, I'm giving up on you.
Oh, yeah, no. She's like, I've lost my faith in you. That's why we're gonna let you die, and then I'm gonna bring you back.
It's going to be easier if you're an undead, hand-resurrected person because
Yes.
you won't be, like, right.
Yeah. And you won't have agency.
I'll be able to mess with you a little
Exactly.
bit more. Yeah. And maybe you'll still have some of you left, and it'll still be a problem.
Just
but then
enough.
you'll just die again,
Well, the best
and then we'll bring you
parts.
back.
The soldier part.
Yeah.
Yeah. Eventually, there won't be
Marine.
enough of you left.
Well, sure.
That's what he says.
I know.
But yeah, it's so the heroes show up and they find Frank just bleeding out on the floor.
By the way, you want to know why he's walking on the water
Yeah.
in the Mediterranean instead of swimming? Because I'm not a Navy SEAL. I'm not going to swim.
That's
I'm a
right. I don't
Marine.
swim. Marines
Walk in and walk out.
they walk in, they walk out. So we show like Frank the day of the funeral. Like the funeral has just taken place. He goes to a mob bar. You know, he's just sitting there. They're like, "Hey, buddy, you look like you're on the way to a funeral." He's like, "Coming from one." And they're like, "Well, be that as it may, you're in a mob bar, and you know,
You don't
boss-
belong
You don't
here."
belong here." And he's like, "Well, you know, you're all a bunch of idiot pieces of shit anyway." And they're like, "What?" And then, you know, he's unleashed, and that's like
Yeah.
the first like act of the Punisher. And we also see like this fun sequence where you know, Frank's talking about like, I killed everyone involved in the murder of my wife and children. Like I killed drivers, and I killed like, you know, gunmen, people who sold the guns. Like I killed everyone.
I killed their tailors.
But like, there's one guy who like didn't.
I killed the farmers who supplied the food that they ate.
That is Tom King's The Penguin, by the way.
Really?
Yes, it's frustrating. It's brilliant, and I love that book, which maybe we'll talk about. I doubt. Maybe there's a Penguin show coming, so maybe we'll do the
oh, there
Penguin
you go.
book.
All right.
There's one like lower level mobster who was a terrible shot. He missed almost everyone that day in the park, but one stray bullet hit my daughter in the abdomen. And so he had to get it.
Right.
You know, there's one guy, and that guy was on his way to like lethal injection. And Frank's like, I could have just drank a beer outside the prison and just enjoyed it, but you know,
Like I used to.
but like no. And you know, so like there's like an assault in the prison, and they're like, oh, people are kind of breaking him out, and they're like, there's one guy, and there's no one's trying to get him out of here. And you know, there's smoke, and like we see the Punisher with like the ammo belt teeth and his big white boots and everything, but he's wearing like a gas mask, and we see like the Punisher in action.
Right.
And it's like, oh, okay, cool. Meanwhile, in the present, Frank awakens, healed, wearing magical chains. He's in the basement of Doctor Strange's sanctum. And Doc's talking to him, and he's like, you know, Steve insisted I have chains on you, even though they're unnecessary. Like,
You're not magic anymore.
You're not magic anymore, and you're in my sanctum. And this place, I've been lost in the bowels of my sanctum before. Like you could turn a wrong
Like,
corner,
you'll never get out
and
of
you'll end
here.
up in Weirdworld.
Right.
So please, just don't even try. But we're wearing, you know, well, let's not stand on ceremony. So anyway, you're a piece of shit, and I don't know what to do with you. And I've got a group of people who don't include Daredevil and Spider-Man, who absolutely should, who are of two minds about what to do with you. Certainly the Wolverine camp is very interested in cutting your head off with his adamantium claws. But there's others like Captain America who talk about due process. But like we, you know, to quote Captain Picard, we have no law to fit your crime.
Yeah.
So, you know.
I'm just saying, 1,000 life sentences still wouldn't be enough.
Yeah, like what are we gonna do with you? And Frank keeps going like, well, just whatever you do, don't extend it to Maria. Like Maria doesn't deserve this. And he's like, Maria?
Maria's already dead.
Well, he's like,
man.
Maria doesn't deserve to be alive.
Yeah, she's
Maria's
supposed
corpse.
to be dead.
Yeah, she
a
belongs in the
corpse.
ground.
Right.
It's what she
That's
is
the
doing.
wrong thing to say to Frank.
No,
Castle.
Frank's just he's broken. Maria shot him.
Right. Yeah, that relationship's over.
Oh yeah.
She wanted
I-
a divorce anyway.
Yeah.
She just remembered it.
I have a
So-
hard time believing that he still isn't like carrying that flame. Like, yeah, she shot me because I still deserve to be shot. But,
Oh,
I'm like,
yeah.
but I'm gonna be with my wife.
He does
I don't
not.
know. He didn't seem to like her very much. He tried to avoid her.
Yeah.
So, like, he likes the idea of her.
Yes.
It seems
like he said, he was going home.
Yeah,
Right.
no,
I
he
was done.
Yeah,
Because I'm
but I
supposed to,
don't-
but what would have happened when he got there,
I
right?
don't know. And that's the thing, like about good books, is that you know it's kind of
Right.
up to
What-
interpretation.
Like, was he actually finally done?
Was he finally
or did
done?
he think he was done, but then he'd get back,
find another
and
thing.
within a day he'd be restless
Exactly,
again.
but like you know maybe
Within a week, he'd be like, "Hey, I bought another van.
you know how much
work on it."
You know how much we love Vans. You love Vans. You love that van more than me. So anyway, yeah. So Doctor Strange like dresses him down, and then different people come in. You know, Wolverine is like, tell me anything to keep me from killing you.
Right.
And Frank says, when you're done with me, you're gonna have to do yourself, bub. Black Widow comes in and she's like, whatever he said to Logan really pissed him off. I'm like, fair. So anyway, you know, they have a conversation and it doesn't matter. And then, you know, obviously Frank is like waiting for, you know, the next door to open, and he's just like, spare me your speech, Rogers. And it's not Rogers. Cap doesn't want to talk to him. It's Maria.
Oh.
He's like, oh, Maria, how was this? She goes, oh, the High Priestess lied. There's no, like, I had some kind of magical whammy on me. Once Doctor Strange found me, he turned it off. Like, I'm back. I'm alive. And I was never going to die.
Oh.
Or I was, but only because of, like, hand magic chicanery.
Yeah, like they were poisoning me with their magic.
Right, like, Doctor Strange turned it off, and, like, to flip the switch, now I'm back. I'm just normal now.
Huh.
And I'm going to finish what I was going to say in the park. I want a divorce. And since I'm dead, technically I guess I got one. So here's what's going to happen now, Frank. I'm going to leave you here in this hole. And what I want you to understand is, like, thanks to Natasha and her spy contacts,
Okay.
I was able to procure half of your assets. And so I took all your safe houses and everything in them, and I sold them. And then I took my half and I turned it into duffel bags full of money in a new car I just bought. The other half I used to donate to various charities in our children's names, which is what you do when you lose your children. You don't put on a t-shirt with a skull on it and kill people in their names. That's something a psycho does. And now I'm going to go. And I'm going to leave you to the judgment of superheroes.
This is what they do.
Because that's what they do.
Yeah.
This is my judgment.
Yeah.
My judgment is
I left you.
You're not part of my life anymore.
Yes, you
Yep.
don't get to invoke your children or my name ever again. Bye. What my advice to you is, whatever hole they put you in, never come out of it.
Fuck, this is dark
I
and
know.
good.
So she leaves him, and then Frank's got the magical chains on him, and Doc mentions he shows him the bullets, like they pulled the bullets out of you. Like, I managed to pull these bullets out of you and stop the bleeding. Whatever the hell these bullets are made of was some magic shit. And he gives them to him. It's like a memento. These are the bullets your wife put in your chest to kill you.
They were ceremonial, man. Don't do that.
So Frank takes the bullets and he smashes them on the ground, getting blood on the floor. And, pulling out the blood, he then prays to the beast.
Oh, crap.
So Captain America finally comes in. He's like, all right, Castle, we've debated, and here we go. Here's what's going to happen. And Frank goes, no, here's what's going to happen. He's fully wearing his old, like his hand ninja Punisher costume now because the Beast has given it to him. And he's like, I don't, whatever you are going to do for me is too good. And then he proceeds to burst into flames and then disappear.
What?
And so Cap demands everyone fan out, look for him, and Doc's like, don't bother. Wherever he is not on this plane of existence anymore. Like, he's probably dead or wherever. Doc has a great conversation with him earlier where he's like, if we hadn't gotten you in time and I wasn't an expert surgeon, you'd be having this conversation with Mephisto. But anyway, so wherever the hell he is, the Punisher
Right.
is no more.
The implication is he's in hell.
Right. But, like, there is no more Punisher.
Interesting.
Then we end the story with Maria in her car with her duffel bags of money.
Would the Beast allow that?
Well, the Beast is like, oh, you're still down? And he's like, nah, I used your Beast powers to kill myself.
It's self-detonated.
Yeah, like, oh. Beast's like, damn it. I mean, we've been going, first the kid, and then your wife, or this is bullshit. I'm gonna go
wait until someone really deserves the Beast.
I'm gonna fight Daredevil at the end of the Zdarsky run. So it ends with a kid in prison. He murdered his parents, and then set up trap. This random kid.
Oh, okay.
In like juvenile detention.
Okay.
He murdered his parents, and he set up traps for any emergency workers to come in, and they all got messed up. And so they eventually caught him, and they put him in jail. And the high priestess comes before him, and she's like, "Hi," and he writes, like "God bless the beast" on the wall. And she's like, "Which dagger belongs to you?" Which is what she did to young Frank.
Right.
What is that?
She's like, I'm gonna try again.
Right, like she's gonna try again, and half her face is messed up, so she's not as like appealing.
Yeah, and
you can see
in
who she
20
is.
years,
We'll get another Punisher
we'll go
or
through
another
this again.
Yeah, like and like, what are we saying? Like, are we saying that like this is who the Punisher is? Like, one day you'll do like a future Punisher story about this kid, and he'll do that, or is it like this is just what the hand does?
I think it's just establishing that like the hand will just keep doing this.
Yes,
this is what they do.
Right,
evil
they don't
never
care
sleeps.
about you, and they're waiting for the next one. We'll
Yeah,
just
they have
replace you with
infinite
another.
patience
Yes.
because they live forever. And,
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
So we end up with Maria leaving, and she's in her car, and she's tearfully crying.
Tearfully crying.
Yeah,
those
she's
things usually go together.
She's emotional.
Yeah.
And she got a duffel bags full of money and a positive pregnancy test. And she drives
That's
up into the sun.
Awkward.
Yeah.
Frank's never gonna know about this fucking kid
No.
until Marvel does.
Until we bring back Frank.
Yeah.
Which, of course, we will. In fact, we will right now, because we go to Weirdworld,
Oh.
where Frank Castle sent himself.
Oh, we had a mention of Weirdworld.
We
Weirdworld.
did.
Yeah.
Because Jason Aaron wrote Weirdworld.
I see.
One of them. There's a couple volumes of Weirdworld.
Uh-huh.
We do wrap it up with a Paul Azaceta, who drew all the flashback stuff, re-showing Frank being presented with Maria by the hand.
Ah.
Like how the hand caught him and ensnared him into this whole bloody affair in the first place.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, okay. So it ends with him being like, there's a moment where, she's talking to him and he goes, "Get this thing away from me." Like, I don't know what this is supposed
Right,
to be.
she's dead.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's not my wife.
And she says a couple things that, like, only she would know.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah, and it fucking breaks him.
Yeah.
Interesting. And like, this is a version of her that doesn't remember that she wanted a divorce.
Yes.
So it's like the perfect version of her for him.
Yeah, all she does is she has sex with him, she stays in bed, and she waits for him to come home, and all he gets to do is murder people.
And she forgets about their kids.
Yeah. Well, no, she didn't. Originally, she's like, as she gets,
like, where are the
this one doesn't
kids?
know about the kids
Yeah,
yet.
initially
Yes.
she
As
doesn't.
she
That's
gets
right. She
to-
doesn't know anything.
Yeah, it becomes a problem.
Except that she's Frank's wife,
Exactly.
which is perfect for him.
Yeah. So anyway, he's in Weirdworld, and he talks about stuff that, Jason Aaron set up in Weirdworld.
Well, there's children.
And there's some children. There's like random stragglers, orphans that are left in the wake of insane crap that happens in Weirdworld. And essentially, Frank is a D&D character. Like, Frank collects these wayward children, and then he leads them to safety. And they ask him what to call him, and he says, "You can call me Frank,
Yeah.
because the Punisher is no more." Normally in every book,
What?
in every Punisher comic, he has the War Journal entry number 4,627.
Right.
In this one, it's Weirdworld Journal, like day 3. Like first of all, I gotta
Right.
keep up my journaling.
Right. I'm starting over from zero.
I'm starting from zero.
Day zero.
Day 0, Weirdworld.
Should be Redemption Journal.
Yeah.
Why Weirdworld, Frank?
Because-
of all the lands.
Well, first of all, Doc mentioned it, and I didn't know any other mystical realm that I could go to.
it's the last one I heard.
It's the one I heard.
don't know this magic stuff very well.
Okay, Frank Castle, I'm going to ask you to name 3 mystical realms that you want to go to.
Oh.
Oh.
Yeah, Hell, Valhalla, and this, and I guess Weirdworld. Is that what you said?
I think Doc said something about Weirdworld. I guess that
Boom!
one.
Oh no! This place
I want to
sucks.
say that one last, damn it!
So he's in Weirdworld, like in saving wayward children or something.
Yeah, the reason he wants to be in Weirdworld
Yeah.
is because killing's normal there.
I guess.
He's a D&D character with a sword,
Yeah.
it's freaking normal.
It's true. It's like, huzzah! But it's also a great opportunity for Jason Aaron to pop in later and do Punisher Weirdworld, some book that'll be 8 issues. It'll be cool, but people will be like, "Oh, he's still wearing the demon from the thing.
He
Like he's
is,
not wearing
yeah.
the classic logo." It's like because Punisher's no more.
Right, he's not killing people who deserve it. He's not punishing people. It's just like defending people. It's
That
stupid.
sucks. That's
he's
not
being
Punisher.
a superhero. It's dumb.
That sucks.
No, he's punishing himself.
That's
Well,
probably
he
more
is-
likely,
yeah.
yeah. So yeah, it's it did not go where I was thinking. Like I thought, I'm like, oh man, Maria's into it.
yeah, she's gonna
Yeah.
be Punisher too.
And I'm like, and then I thought about it, and when I got more, I'm like, oh, because like good stories, like,
Right.
oh, I didn't
Oh.
see that coming. And,
Yeah.
and when it did arrive, I'm like, yeah, I guess Punisher 2 would have been pretty lame. Like I would have liked Maria and Frank killing people for like one arc.
Right, and
But then where do you
don't
go
need
from
that
there?
anymore?
You know, where do you go with Maria being pregnant with Frank's kid, divorced from him? Nowhere, because she's not a main character. Like she gets to live happily. Leave her alone. Don't make her a Punisher. Don't do anything to her. Just let her be.
Right.
Yeah,
You know?
but the trouble is you're still making her tied to Frank by being pregnant with his kid.
I know. That's a thing where I'm like, okay, so you left the High Priestess alive, you made Maria pregnant, and you put Frank in Weirdworld. Jason Aaron's coming back to Punisher one day.
Yeah.
And I don't know if it'll be as awesome as this series, which I still maintain and will forever is cool. And I don't care how angry people are about it, because I'm like, look, you want to read a book about Frank killing people, wearing a skull on his chest? Guess what? There's about 1,000 issues of that. And they're all the same. Hate to tell you this, but Frank killing a drug cartel member is a pretty well-trod field.
Dime a dozen.
I could read more stories of them, but they wouldn't be much different from the ones that already exist. And I like the idea of putting Frank on a shelf versus just puppeting him around in a weird status quo.
Right. Like,
know?
wait until there's something cool to do with him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, like Jason Aaron also, he's doing it over in DC with Batman. He did it's something else. You know, could Jason Aaron do a story about Batman dealing with Scarecrow, who's, you know, some kind of metaphor for the drug industry, but it's fear toxin and he punches them to an extraordinary dental bill? Yeah, that'd be fun and cool. But instead, it's Batman in space. Because one time a mobster hires an alien to punch Batman. And Batman's like, oh, I don't know how to beat aliens. So he goes into space to fight all the aliens that exist in the galaxy so that he knows how to fight aliens. And I'm like, yep. Is there a story where Batman goes into a cave and fights an alpha alien dog and then rides it into battle? Yep. Is that fire? Uh-huh.
You have a friend that's an alien.
Yeah.
Let him bring it around.
Yeah, it's not the same thing. I only have to fight one of him. There aren't no more. I don't have to deal with Kryptonians. I deal with a Kryptonian,
No, I'm not
and
saying
I
you
know
have
how
to
to
do
beat
that.
him.
I'm just saying, like, use him as your guide. Hey, Clark, bring me into space. I gotta beat up some
no,
aliens.
that's why it's set in the past. It's like year 2.
Oh,
I
okay.
don't really know Superman. We're not on speaking terms. I know of him.
I know of him, and I'm not on the basis where I can ask him to chauffeur me into space.
I don't
for
think-
an international intergalactic fight club.
He would not do it. He'd be like, "Oh yeah, sure thing."
This guy's going to jail.
He'd fly him to jail and then call Alfred and be like, "I'm so sorry."
The fortune's yours.
Yeah. Huzzah! I don't know if it's collected in like an omnibus. I doubt it. But Volume 2 is in the comments. I would say buy it because it's cool. It's still cool. The art's
It is cool.
amazing. Jesus Saez's present-day story is just so awesome. His attention to detail, his images of Maria when she's alive with these mortal bullet holes healing over.
Yeah.
And, like when you see them like kissing and stuff, and she's got a bullet hole in her cheek, and you're like, that, no. Oh,
It's
ew,
quite gross.
oh.
Yeah.
But like,
Oh, these people are still damaged and flawed, but they still love each other.
yeah.
I assume he still loves her.
No, he loves her because it's Maria.
But see, our relationship,
It's not like it's bleeding.
No, thank God.
what's creepy to me is when she died, their relationship was like dying because he was in love with death, right? Because he was going to executions and shit.
Yeah.
And then she comes back to life, but she's like a dead person.
Right.
And now he's like into her again.
Yeah.
Now he wants to like have sex with her again.
Right.
Is
Yeah.
it because she's like kind of dead?
Right? It's like, that's as close as I can get. I don't know.
No, I
No,
think
'cause
it's
he does-
He came back from the war and he was just like, I'm only good at this one thing, and I'm gonna like ignore my family and put them on hold to do like the stuff that I want to do, because they'll always be there. And then suddenly they weren't there.
But he was like, I don't know, he was like into his family, but then he like falls off the wagon. Like he's doing stuff with them, he's going to the park,
Yeah, it's like an addiction.
But then he's like, then he starts going to the executions.
Yeah.
Yeah, because he's not being the Punisher. If he was the Punisher the whole time, where
Yeah.
he's just like, I came back, and I'm a hitman.
Right, like for
I
him.
think he might have a much happier home life.
Yeah, maybe.
You're saying for him, as if he's killing people, then he's like happy
Yes.
to like have
but
his
like, but
family
Maria
life.
kept talking about how like when he was being when he was punishering before Punisher, it was like it was an affair. Like he wouldn't touch her. No, they got back into sex,
Yeah.
but only it was very primal and
It was
and-
like to fulfill the marriage. So
Yeah.
like,
yeah.
no, we have a real relationship.
We connect. But also, he wouldn't touch her after he had like watched an execution or beat someone almost to death, because he wouldn't want her to like smell the affair on him.
Right.
Like, or he would shower immediately, and it's
Yeah.
like, so yeah, no, he was
I
definitely
didn't want her
Like,
to know how much of
metaphorically,
a
he
more of
was-
a boner I had after watching an execution.
yes,
Yeah.
yeah, and I didn't want to use that boner on her. That'd be gross.
That's my
Right.
death boner.
Yeah, there's a lot of like creepy depth that I don't
Yeah.
really want to.
Yeah, we don't
plunge
really need to
into.
go into
We don't
all
need
that.
to go into all
There's
that.
something there.
There's something
There's the
there.
word plunge there.
Yeah, but let folks feel free to read it and interpret it and share your interpretations.
Here's the thing.
in the comments.
We did 3/4 of this book in a previous episode.
Yeah, we did.
We had this entire episode just to finish out the story. That's how good this is.
It's so cool. I really like it because it's like a very, it's not just. I've read books that are like, it's cool because it's mature. No, I've read books like that, and I think that this is like mature in its depiction of adult relationships for very damaged people. And there's something to be learned from it. There is the value. Also, there's dope ninjas and shit in it. So it's also entertaining.
Right, it's got everything.
It's got everything.
This book has everything.
This book literally has everything.
Well, it's like, well, who's this for? It's sure as hell ain't for Punisher fans.
I think it. I mean, like,
Well,
that's
it's for a
just it.
certain type of
If
Punisher.
you want
Yeah.
to see a Punisher fan,
because like I'm.
go see him in Weirdworld.
Yeah.
Let him live there.
It's for Punisher fans who don't actually like the Punisher
Yeah, I guess so.
as a person.
Because like I like Punisher. I think it's safe to say that I think the Punisher is cool. And
but you wouldn't want to meet him.
I would not want to know him.
Right.
I wouldn't want him to exist in the real world.
Yeah.
But I enjoy
You like
reading
watching his
Punisher.
work.
Yeah, but even then, like sometimes it's boring and superficial. And giving this was like, yeah, all right, whoa. I'm learning a lot of stuff about people in this book that is normally about Punisher going to Bolivia and killing some kind of dictator. It's
Right.
like,
And he's also doing that. He's also punishing.
But he also
so I
punishes.
get that part that I like.
well, we got like a full ass splat, rather than like a 6-part miniseries about him doing the thing that it takes one splash image to get. We know what you want to see. You want to know that there was a yacht full of bad people, and you want to see them all get eaten by sharks. There you go.
or
One
see
page.
the shark fins, which imply that they are
Well, you
being
got one.
or have been
You have like a lot of shark fins and like one shark who's like, "Meh."
Right.
Yep.
It's great.
Says it all right there.
It says it all. And yes, no, I understand. If you are a die-in-the-wool Punisher fan who's like, I have every issue,
Right.
I get excited
Punisher's
when
my
this
hero,
Punisher's my hero.
my personal hero.
You may find this book to raise questions you otherwise had not broached. But I say, let it in! You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah. Open yourself up to the possibility that Frank Castle's a bastard.
yeah, like, you know what? Peter Parker is a neurotic jackass.
Yeah, they're not perfect.
They ain't perfect. This actually, I think, makes Punisher a Marvel character. You know what I mean? Like, Punisher is a Marvel character.
He's
invented
tragic now.
and he is.
Well, more tragic.
Well, he was. I mean, like,
It's
Punisher.
not just something tragic that happened to him. He is
Yeah.
internally
Well, and
has a critical flaw.
Yes.
A character flaw.
Right, and because the comic, first of all, he appears as a villain in a Spider-Man comic, but like, moreover,
Right out the gate.
right out of
He's
the
a bad
gate, he's
guy.
a bad guy. But he's also like, you get it because in 1973, the movies that were influencing the zeitgeist were popular, and he is one of those for children. Like, he was written to be Death Wish for kids.
Right.
It's fun to watch Frank kill bad guys, but it's more fun to watch Frank kill a bad guy that got away. Because then you're like, oh, Frank usually gets these guys. Like, there's a moment in this book. It's hilarious because Frank's flying away from the superheroes, and so Doctor Strange conjures magical claymores that say "front towards Frank."
Like he's freaking Green Lantern.
And he personalized them.
Yes, well, not toward enemy. Sometimes we're working together. But I was just
that's a magical spell component.
Yes.
So that if someone else walked in front of the claymores,
yes,
Frank.
They
yes,
wouldn't go up. Yeah,
yes.
They're safe for everyone.
That's right.
That's amazing.
So funny. Also, the Moon Knight interactions with Frank are great.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, because Moon Knight is like,
What is their connection again?
we used to kill people together and stuff, like Atlantis attacks.
I'm kind of like the Punisher. I'm like Punisher light.
If Khonshu took me over, we might be in the same situation. So I'm here to level some heads. Everybody wants to kill you, and I'm kind of like, well, let's hear them out.
Well,
Because what's also funny is that Jason Aaron will do that to Moon Knight in the Avengers book that he was writing around the same time. Is that Khonshu's like, okay, I'm making you really powerful. It's just like,
right. People are gonna remember Khonshu.
Oh my god. And I just man, it's funny because I'm like, Jason Aaron's Punisher? Yes! Jason Aaron's Avengers? Get that away from me! This is the end of Frank Castle's story, or the beginning of a new version of Frank Castle. But look, there was a time when Punisher sold so bad that they thought, well, let's just execute him. Let's just have him caught and have the state execute him for his crimes. And they do. And heaven is like, you are so good at killing, we're going to give you magical angelic weapons that are going to shoot demons. And that book was so terrible and reviled that it ended essentially in a cliffhanger, and Garth Ennis showed up and just had him be Frank Castle. He's not angelic. He is not dead. He is a man who fought in Vietnam, who wears a skull on his shirt, and he basically, in one caption box, says, I told those angels to go F themselves. And that was it. And even then, Garth Ennis did a great job with it, because what they did, we're not even going to do it. Here you go. He explains, when he tells the angels to go F themselves, when he meets God, we don't see it. We see Frank murdering people or whatever, and he explains how we got from point A to point B, which is to say we didn't. We just put him back in the thing.
We're not doing that anymore.
We're not doing that anymore. We're doing the thing that worked 20 years ago.
Yep.
But in the caption, he explains that when he told God to go F himself, God decreed that the angels send Frank to heaven to look at his wife and family and see the faces of the people he will never see again. And then put him back on Earth. Right. Look at what you will never have. Paradise. And then Frank is back being the Punisher. And
interesting.
It's arguably the greatest Punisher. It dovetails into the greatest Punisher run of all time. Because at that point, it was Welcome Back Frank, which is like a Marvel Comics in continuity story, which is essentially Frank saying, superheroes are dumb. And I'm going to have Frank make fun of them and point out how tiny their penises are and stuff. And that's the book. And then it becomes Punisher Max, and it's like, whoa.
It's also a very God thing to do. Hey, no.
How dare you?
You know what? Fuck you. Fuck you forever. I'm supposed to love you and forgive you no matter what you do, but you spat in my face once?
Eat it.
That's it.
That's it. I hold a grudge.
I guess this is a version where it's like, well, no, there's hell.
Oh, yeah, no.
There is a hell, and some people go there, and you are one of them.
Most people go there, and you're definitely one of them. And
I gave you a second chance, you spat in my face?
How dare you?
You're definitely going to hell.
Yeah.
You're going to hell the most of anybody.
Right. And it's essentially him God yelling at the audience. You didn't like my stupid angel story? Well, eat this. But my point being...
That was never going to heaven.
Yeah, but bringing it up to say... Yeah, sure, he's in Weirdworld. And then you could,
and then he just won't be anymore.
Garth Ennis or some new writer,
right.
or Jason Aaron could literally just have Frank shooting mobsters. And there's a little thing that runs along where he's like, yeah, I was in Weirdworld for a while. I kicked around Weirdworld for a little bit. Saved some kids, fought some monsters. met man thing.
Found my way back.
Yep.
The end.
Yep.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm divorced. Yep.
Yeah, maybe we'll tell a story where I go
Where I
seek
did
out my
that.
kid, and you
Yes,
know,
yes.
and we have to figure out this. How am I going to be a father to this
Right.
kid when I'm not with his mom?
More
She
likely
hates my
what'll
guts.
happen is Garth Ennis, if he were to take over, will have Maria and her kid in a park. And
Like, not again!
And they'll be killed in a superhero fight. So Frank will have even more of a reason to hate the superheroes.
No, what I would love is if they did it where it's like, oh, Frank is trying to kill some mobsters,
And one of
and
them.
a bullet ricochets.
Oh.
And he ends up killing
kills
them.
the son or his wife or both of them.
That's the end of the Punisher right there.
Yeah. I thought you were going to say, and that's an equally valid idea, is that he's going to kill some mobsters and one of the new young lieutenants is his son.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh shit!
I was concerned that at the end of this, when we saw the wife going to the beast, like that little kid,
Yeah.
like, oh, that's Frank's kid.
Right. No. Yeah.
Like, oh yeah, I killed my parents.
Yeah. Ugh. No, thank God. But yeah, check it out. We'll see you guys next time on another episode. I'm Sal.
I'm Ethan.
I'm Ben.
Keep reading. Oof. That's dark. I remember thinking about it because I was on vacation. I didn't read anything, and I was like, uh-oh, I gotta do something. I'm like, hey,
Okay, get ready.
we never finished Punisher.
Oh, let's just do that.
Let's do that. That'll be a fun romp.
So, were you satisfied by the ending?
Yes.
Yeah,
I
you're
was.
like, okay.
I didn't predict it,
That's always good.
but I don't measure my enjoyment of things based on whether I can or not.
Right.
And
Right.
I also found it equally earned. So I accepted
To
it.
the ending that you thought it was
I
going for.
definitely thought Maria was like, I'm in,
Right,
baby.
right.
Let's make more Punishers.
Yeah, so-
it didn't go that way.
Well, they did make more Punishers.
They did
Well,
make-
little Franks anyway.
Yeah, it didn't work
Or
out. though.
one.
Yeah.
It's interesting that because I thought it was going there too because of her being into him being violent. I was like,
Exactly.
oh, she's another one of him.
Yes.
But it's actually more deep than that because it's like
Yes!
no, she can be a badass and still be reviled by what he's done.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
It's one thing to beat up a bad guy in a bar.
Right.
It's another thing to go on a vengeful killing spree that never ends.
That spans decades and includes a body count of tens of thousands.
Right. That at a certain point it becomes grotesque.
Yeah.
And you can imagine if he had just killed the people who killed his family,
She might have been like,
she would have reacted
yeah.
quite differently.
I
She'd have
think
been
so.
like, they fucking deserved it.
Yeah.
But then it's
But I'm
here.
still leaving you though.
Well, we're always gonna get a divorce, which I just remembered. So yeah, that's still happening. But
Or not. I mean,
Or maybe I respect you after this beast thing. You really tamed that beast. The meat creatures. I fucking love these.
Oh my God.
Him just seeing people,
He doesn't see
bad
them.
guys, as grotesque
Yeah.
monsters.
And it's you could say that that's beast mode. Or that's what he sees all the time.
Yeah. I mean,
it is what he's seeing right now because he's beast mode.
Yeah, but it's but that is how he sees the world, right?
Yes.
He doesn't see them as people.
Exactly.
Maybe he doesn't see them as literally these things.
No, but
before
the
this,
beast just puts a special veneer over them.
yeah, it makes it a little more extreme. But in his mind's eye, he's not killing people that you feel sorry for.
Right.
Well,
feel
once
sorry
he
for
gets the
regular
sight, that's the ugliness in these people.
That's true.
Yeah,
That is
That's
something
he is
the thing
able to
he's
see
killing.
it.
Yeah, but I
Yes.
love the idea that I don't.
And it makes it more
easier
abstract
for me to do it.
Right,
Yeah,
right. To the point where he
Yeah.
almost kills a child.
Yeah.
But it is a little disturbing that he doesn't even see them as people. It's
Yes.
oh no,
Oh,
you
well,
have to see them as people.
You have to see them as people. You got to know what they're capable of, and of course with people like Daredevil and Spider-Man being but they could be redeemed, or at
Right.
least they could be remorseful.
Well, that's the thing. Yeah, and I don't know if that's in here. Probably not. But
Well,
it is with the kid.
it is with the kid.
because he says he was killed. He was raised to kill for hate. It's well, probably these other people were too.
Exactly.
So they are adults now.
Yeah.
So you feel more bad for the kid, but it's
but they were kids too.
Right.
Yeah. No. And they.
and you don't know which of them could be redeemed, which of them are just following
Yeah.
the crowd and never would have hurt anybody and are just cheerleaders.
Yeah.
And which ones were really. Now he does. I guess they get around that because no, but he knew they were going to kill people because he has future sight or whatever.
Right, but he
Or they
sees.
have.
Well, and
I kill.
Yeah, well, the kid, it's weird because he is a little monster, but he's not as fully formed as the others.
Right. And is it would he have ever, like, he has the ability at this time to see who is going to do things.
Yes.
So does that mean he saw that, like, well, this kid in 10 years
Probably.
will murder someone, and it's like, well, is that acceptable? Or is it that, like, no, like, that means there's no free will?
Yeah.
We're not trying to say that.
They're not saying
what he's
that.
seen is like some partial future, or the future that will happen if no one intervenes
That's
and
exactly
changes
what it
it.
is. Yeah.
Well,
no.
that's the trouble, is that I've been raised to kill for hate. Someday I hope to, someday I will.
Yeah.
The fact that it's I will instead of I might.
Well, I think it's like I will because that's who I am. But if like Daredevil hit me with a billy club instead of Frank stabbing me through the face with a katana,
Right, then I would.
maybe I won't.
And you know now what's going to happen, so you could actually change it.
Yes.
He doesn't kill the kid.
Right.
He doesn't.
So, like-
because he realizes it's too
But
far.
will the
Here's
kid
the question.
kill now?
Yeah.
Right.
Will he still kill?
Yeah.
We don't know.
Well, I don't know.
We don't get to know.
Well, it's
And
like-
you never do get to know.
No, and then
it's like-
because it's real,
Yeah.
or like at least you never would know in the real world, and
Right.
so here's the best thing.
Well, and that's the moral dilemma. Suppose you did know with almost absolute certainty that this kid was going to kill someone someday.
almost.
Does it become moral to kill him?
or moral to give them the option of free will, and it's like yeah, it's a complicated book with Moon Knight in it.
It's a complicated book, and Moon Knight's in there
Yeah,
too.
it's a complicated book, and also Wolverine shows up.
And Frank stabs Wolverine in the face with his own claws.
So close, it's pretty awesome.
Yep.
Even though actually he wouldn't be able to have the muscle control to move Wolverine's claws because his adamantium would just slide through his fingers like hot knife through butter. But he is also possessed by a demon, so maybe he's given the strength of 10 men. Whatever.
Yeah,
It's
I
fun and
assume
cool,
that's it,
and
yeah.
who cares?
Yeah, he beat Ares. He
Yeah,
beat a literal
he
god.
beat a literal
'cause he
god.
had
Oh, yeah,
to
that's
I guess
right.
he can move.
I guess he can move one
Wolverine's adamantium
Canadian's
skeleton.
arm.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.